What's up guys, it's Roger, and today is a great day for us Blink Warlocks because we're finally getting the buff to Astrocyte verse. Now I'm sure you all remember months and months ago when all those leaks came out, right? About all these different exotics that are going to get buffed, get changed, whatever it may be, and Astrocyte was on the list. Now I never got my hopes up. I mean, I don't get my hopes up much in life, and especially not when it comes to Destiny 2, but I know a lot of the community did. However, I said, keep it based, calm down, wait till we have an official release of this thing, something that actually says, here it is. And today we've finally got that. Well, a few days ago, but nevertheless, what are we getting? Well, Astrocyte verse, when we blink towards an enemy now, in a little radius in front of us or around us, it's unclear. I suppose we'll get more insight on that once we actually have the release on this. Well, it's going to make the enemy volatile, which is cool enough, I suppose. On top of that, it's going to make it to where when we use our Nova Warp with our Astrocyte verse, it's not going to consume energy on the Dark Blink, which is a nice buff right there as well. So overall, a nice little buff coming to Astrocyte first, and it's nice to see Blink get some love. I'll talk more about my actual opinions on this buff when we get to the gameplay breakdown, but let's go ahead and break down the rest of the build first. Pretty simple, normal Blink build for you guys today. Of course, I have some kinetic and solar targeting and unflinching, and then a solar dexterity so I can switch to my solar weapon much faster, and you'll see what weapons we're using very soon here. I like to make orbs of power with my PvP builds. I do that by having a heavy-handed mod, a firepower mod, and a reaper mod. You can go ahead and pause and read these more in depth if you would like to. Once we get those orbs of power, we pick them up. What's that going to do for us? It's going to give us ability energy back through our absolution, our innervation, and our orbs of restoration. Again, pause if you want to read these more in depth. Beyond that, we have two bomber mods right here. This is going to give us around 20 to 25% of our grenade energy back every time we place a rift. For our weapons here, we have Sturm, and then you'll see my Drang in just a second here. These are just two absolutely amazing weapons that you can never go wrong with. A very fun time. I haven't played much in the past 2 weeks. In fact, I've played none in the past 2 weeks. So I got back online today. I did my Hunter build, which you can see I posted yesterday. I'll put that on the end screen in case you're interested in watching that. But I was just having fun with Sturm hand cannon here. And for those closer range engagements, I was using the Drang Baroque right here. You can see I have moving target and incandescent on this thing. Some really nice plays with this in the gameplay today. When it comes to our Void 3.0, the usual stuff, we're going to have a Nova Bomb Vortex on here. Had some good plays with this today. Of course, we like this as a good shutdown super, especially shutting down those Well of Radiances and those bubbles. Now, on top of that, we're going to have a Healing Rift, of course. We want to heal ourselves. Empowering Rift is fine, but unless you're going to be using Seek and Filaments, then you don't want to use Empowering Rift. I would always recommend you go for a Healing Rift. Very nice to have in the middle of battle, and of course, using Healing Rift will summon our Clarence, but we'll get to that soon enough. We have Blink here because I'm not some little freaky floaty boy, and I mean, we're using Astrocyte verse. What, you want to use Astrocyte verse and then float? You can. You'll get plus 30 AE from it, but I would recommend you actually use Blink with it. Now, on top of that, we have Pocket Singularity. We have so many great different melee abilities down here, but I think I'm just going to use Pocket Singularity for today. Over here, we have Scatter Nades. You can use other nades, such as a Vortex, Suppressor, or a very nice Axiom Bolt on this map to great effect, but this weekend I went for Scatter Nades as there are a lot of good chokeholds on this map that you want to be able to use a Scatter Nade on to take your enemies out very quickly. For our aspects, we'll just start with Clarence right here. Shout out to the old gods if you want to call him that, but on my channel, we call him Clarence. Clarence is my son from the Void. He'll go and he will suck the enemy's bussies so hard that they won't know what to do with themselves. They're going to take damage. They're going to get weakened, just like they're weak in the nades from that good suckage, and they're also going to give you grenade and melee energy back. Now, on top of that, we do have Feed the Void, so whenever we kill an enemy with our Void abilities, we're going to proc that and get Devour. That's going to fully heal us and also give us some grenade energy back. We love to see that. Coming down to our fragments here, we have my favorite fragment in the entire game, Echo of Dilation. This is while you're crouched, you sneak faster and gain enhanced radar resolution, plus 10 mobile and plus 10 intellect. You can never go wrong with those raw stats. Echo of Persistence right here will make the initial proc of your Devour go from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. Of course, an extra 5 seconds on that cheek suckage Devour is going to be some real good stuff for you. Over here, we do have Echo of Expulsion. This says Void Ability Final Blows cause targets to explode. So once you do get a Void Ability Final Blow from your Pocket Singularity or from your nade, they will explode a secondary time, which can be very good for picking up those double kills or even triple kills. And lastly, we do have Echo of Vigilance, one of my favorite newish fragments in the game that says defeating a target while your shields are depleted grants you a temporary Void Overshield. I do want you to keep in mind this loses you minus 10 recovery, and this loses you minus 10 recovery. We want to make sure we can stay at 100 recov on any of our classes, but especially on Warlock because it's our class stat. On top of that, I do like to have 100 discipline, so those are my two stats that I really go for. And for your Blink Warlock, I do recommend you go anywhere from 50 to 80, but if you want to run 100 or if you want to run 10, then I'm not going to stop you. You do whatever feels good to you at the end of the day. Now, if you have any questions about this build, you can go ahead and leave those in the comment section or join the Blinkville Discord server. I'm going to have that linked in the top right and in the description. As always, if you want to leave me a like, subscribe, or a comment on this video at any point, I'd very much appreciate that, as it helps push the video to more people so they can enjoy it as well, and that really helps me grow the channel. But all that being said, I think we're about ready to get into this gameplay, so without further ado, why don't we go ahead and blink on into it. Coming into these first couple clips, you're going to notice I do have a shotgun on. I was trying to play with shotguns today, and if you watch my Hunter video from yesterday, you'll see I used a shotgun there, and it went very well for me, so I thought I would just translate that over to my Warlock gameplay, keep playing with shotguns since I was feeling good with them, but it just didn't feel as good. I knew I wanted to use the Sturm, but I didn't think Drang would work as well on this map. You can see I had some slight success with my shotgun here, but overall it was just not going so well, so I switched things up, and after this clip you'll see I do actually end up on the Drang to match with my Sturm here. Of course, a perfect combo, they're literally made for each other, kind of like your dick and my okay, pause. Anyways, I love the guns together, so I had to go back and, use that tried and true combo, and I'm glad that I did because I had a lot of fun once I actually went back, ignored that guy behind me. He was like trying to punch me, and I was like, you know what, teammate, you go ahead, I'm gonna help the other teammate, and then that was a bad idea because this guy got his butthole absolutely clapperinoed, but I came back in and took the guy out. Anyways, from here on out, you'll see Sturm and Drang gameplay, so I hope you guys do enjoy that, and I think we'll just go ahead and talk about the Astrocyte buff really quickly, so I can just get my opinions out there on that, since people are gonna have been asking me about it a little bit, and I know they're gonna continue to ask, especially when the new season starts and it actually goes live. So essentially, I don't really care about it because I don't think it's that much of a buff, to be honest with you. I think it'll be cool for PvE, but I'm gonna make you understand why I don't think it's that great right now. So the biggest thing for me is when I play D2 nowadays, I mainly only play Trials of Osiris, which is a 3v3 game mode, and as we all know, in 3v3 game modes, it's really difficult to actually get roaming supers. You need to be fragging out really well and most likely running 100 intellect on top of that. Or you need to have somebody with a bubble or well on your team so you can farm those orbs from those supers. But if you're not doing those things, then it's incredibly difficult to actually get a consistent roaming super. On top of that, you just usually want to use a shutdown super more than that. I mean, look at the top of the screen right now. There's 3 Wells of Radiances, the enemy team has a shutdown super, I have a shutdown super, and then the last guy on my team actually does have a Storm Trance, but everyone else is a shutdown or single pop super. And you can see right now like what I mean. There we go, top off my super just off of getting his orbs, and this is round 9, or round 9. And I just got my bomb, and I was playing pretty well on this match. So that's what I'm trying to tell you, even just getting these single pop supers can take a long time. That's the perfect combo you want to do right there with your Sturm and Drang. I had to show you guys that clip. And oh look, a little lag abuser. That's so much fun. Look at him. Yeah, no, totally legit, totally legit. Now that guy's, not cheating in the slightest. Anyways, so as I was saying with the actual Astrocyte buff, when it comes to Nova Warp especially, we're talking about how the Astrocyte is going to make it to where Dark Blink doesn't have any cost to it, which, first of all, awesome buff. I love to see that. But to be completely honest with you, I think Dark Blink should never cost any energy to begin with. Do you know how bad Nova Warp is? I actually scripted an entire video about Nova Warp and how it's just extremely underpowered compared to every other roaming super, most other roaming supers in the game on many fronts. I'm not going to go completely into depth on that right now. I need to actually put that video together, but I haven't really wanted to make Destiny content because the game fucking blows. But maybe I'll get the video together at some point. But the entire point that I'm trying to make right now is that it's just in a bad spot. And then on top of that, any roaming supers you just don't get in 3v3s. So when that is primarily 99% of the time all that I play when it comes to D2, I don't really care about that buff because I'm not going to see it. I'm not going to see the actual gains from that buff, And when I go to PvE, I'm not going to play that often to begin with. But if I do play PvE, I'm not going to use frickin' Nova Warp when I go into a raid, am I? No. Most of the time I actually switch off of Void Lock when I play PvE because I want to use something different. But that's the entire thing is that I'm getting at here. I'm not actually going to get use out of the Astrocyte buff going towards Nova Warp. Now, that's not the only thing we get. The other part of the Nova Warp buff, the Astrocyte first buff, is going to be the fact that when we blink towards an enemy in the surrounding area, we're going to make them volatile. Now, I don't know about you, but personally I find volatile to be one of the least useful negative debuffs you can place upon your enemies in any subclass family. You can jolt an enemy. There's some awesome stuff with that, and that can lead you to be amplified. You can go ahead and you can make someone burning. You know, the burn, scorch, I should say, can lead to ignite, which is extremely powerful and so easy to cheese, you know. You have freezing with stasis, which just makes your enemy, you know, just casually not able to play the goddamn game anymore. That was a great idea, Bungie, you're killing it there. And then you have something like suspend, which again makes your enemy basically not able to play the entire game. And then we have volatile, which does what exactly? Well, it makes it to where you have to do a bunch of damage, and then your enemy will blow up. And that can be cool. You can get some 2, maybe 3 pieces from that. However, the thing is, when you make an enemy volatile, most of the time, they're gonna die from your regular bullets or any other abilities you hit them with before the volatile even procs. So let's say we blink into an enemy, right? And then we shotgun them. Okay, they're either going to 1, die from the point blank shotgun blast that we just hit them with, or 2, they didn't die, so you hit them with a melee and they die from that. At no point are you going to trigger the volatile from that entire exchange. So that kind of leads you to a point where you're going, what's the point of it? What is it really doing? And I think on a micro level, it's not going to do much. Or actually, I should say on a macro level, it's not going to do much. When it comes to the big picture of this actual change to Astrocyte Burst, it's not going to do much. There are some really cool edge cases that we can talk about. Something that Torrential Vortex, one of my good friends, Puffer people, and subscribers actually brought up, talking about when you blink into somebody while you're in that Nova Warp. And then you could do a small burst. And I think he is correct in saying if they were inside of a bubble or a well, if you blink into them, make them volatile with that blink, and then do a small uncharged blast of your Nova Warp, it should be enough damage to actually proc that volatile and maybe outright kill that Guardian. Now, if that's the case, that is an awesome change, and that could be something really cool to experiment with. However, that kind of leads us back to our initial problem that we were talking about in the beginning, which is you don't usually get Nova Warp in a 3v3 game mode, which is where you usually see the wells and the bubbles, because people don't use well and bubble as much in 6v6 because they want to use the actual supers that get them kills. So all around, how is this buff to Astrocyte Verse? Well, to be completely honest with you, I think it's basically worthless, you know? In a high tier competitive setting, which I know is hilarious to say in Destiny 2 because, you know, competitive my ass, but it's just not going to do much, my friends. It's not going to do much in a 3v3 setting when we can't take actual use out of the buff to Nova Warp because we can't even, for 1, get Nova Warp, and then for 2, it's not going to get much use out of the Astrocyte, out of the volatile buff, I should say, because most of the time your enemy is just going to die before that volatile procs, or the volatile will wear off before you can actually go ahead and proc it. Because if you proc that volatile, or I should say, you put the volatile on your enemy in the first engagement, by the time you can actually use it in a second engagement, say they actually healed and you did a little bit of damage, you want to do the rest of the damage to proc that volatile, by that time, it's most likely that that volatile is already going to have worn off of your enemy. So you kind of see the problems we're running into here, where there's just not the best use case for this buff. But let's go ahead and talk about 6s for a second. So I think I've made it pretty clear why I personally don't really care for this buff. Now, I want to look at it on a grander scale for you guys, because I know a lot of you still play the game a lot, and even do it in a casual sense of something like Control, and we can also talk about this in a sense of Iron Banner when that's going to be active, because Iron Banner is something that I play quite a bit of when it actually is active. And in those settings, I think this buff is going to be freaking awesome, because we can go in to a 6v6 game mode where we actually can run our Nova Warp, and we can get 1, 2, 3 Nova Warps depending on what the 6v6 game mode is. Think about this buff in something like, oh frick, I can't think of the name of it. It's the one, Eruption is the Iron Banner game mode, my favorite game mode in the entire game, to be honest with you, because I get to frag out and get like 3 Nova Warps in one game. So much fun, and I'm going to be able to use those Nova Warps so much more effectively now. The effective timer on our Nova Warp has gone up dramatically. The actual chaining we can do with our dark blinks into our regular blinks to get around the map is just going to go up dramatically itself. We can do so much more now that the energy cost is going to be gone on top of that dark blink, and that's something that we shouldn't really sneeze at. I'm excited to try that out in 6s, and once there's our first Iron Banner of the next season, I will definitely be doing that, and I'm excited to go ahead and give it a try and give it my full opinion then. I'm going to wait until I can actually use this in 6s before I give it a full opinion of how good of a buff this is. In 3s, like I said, I think it's going to be pretty minuscule to basically factor. But in 6s, I see it being quite a big deal. Now, that only comes to the Nova Warp part. When we're still talking about the applying of a volatile to our enemies, I still don't think it's going to matter too much in 6s. I think that it's cool still, and I think it has more of a chance actually to be effective in 6s because you could blink into someone, apply volatile to them, and maybe you even die. But you have so many teammates around that somebody could probably proc that volatile, you know? And I think that's pretty cool to see. But overall, when you're just looking at PvP as a whole, I just think that the buff to Astro is just kind of like, okay, like there it is. Like it happens, it exists, and it's just gonna be there. And that's cool. And anytime there is actual eyes put on Blink, it makes me happy because most of the time it feels like Bungie just, well, most of the time it feels like they wake up and they don't want to do their job at all. But most of the time it feels like they forget that Blink even exists. So I just gotta give actual, happiness at any point when Blink is looked at in any capacity. So overall, I'm happy to see this buff to Astrocyte Verse. I think that obviously, in my opinion, it leaves a lot to be desired, but it's still cool and it adds different functionality. And then just to top it off, I think in PvE, it'll be a pretty darn good buff. Not because people are going to start using Nova Warp, that won't really matter in PvE, but when it comes to PvE, what will matter is sorry, I was looking at the teammates' names, so I wanted to show you guys specific clips here in a second. But where it will matter is the actual volatile application that you can put on your PvE combatants. I think that could be pretty cool, and that could be pretty fun to apply that more and have some fun with that, because blinking is actually really good in PvE. It's something people don't really know, but blinking is really good, especially something like Grandmaster Nightfalls and whatnot. It can be very effective because it kind of throws off the enemy's targeting for the NPCs. They don't really know how to target you that well once you go through a blink, so it can be very effective there. But overall, yeah, I think it's cool that we're going to actually have a buff with this, but I think that it is slightly lackluster, or extremely lackluster, I should say, overall in a competitive setting such as 3s. Now, we're coming to the last few clips here. I should say, I think I'm in this match right now with some really cool dudes that I actually wanted to shout out if I can see their names here. Or, oh wait, no, that's the sad creep guy. He was kind of a dick, honestly. He was like tapping in chat like, "Can we freaking do that?" And I was like, "You smell like fucking bean burrito, dude. I don't know. Someone shat in your mouth at an Arby's or something. I don't like you." But there was these two guys, I think in the last few clips that I have for you, that were really cool dudes. So shout out to them because I think their names were Luna and Syx, SYX. They were really cool, and we had some fun plays. And we lost the first round, then I went in team chat and I was like, hey, if we just team shot together, we can clap this up. No shot the enemy wins if we just team shot a little bit. And they didn't respond to me at first. I was like, maybe they didn't see it, maybe they're just ignoring me. But most of the time when I say that stuff to people, they think I'm being an ass. And then they just like come back and be all pissy, and they'll like chaos, or not chaos, they'll intentionally feed the entire match. But these guys are really cool. Like, look at this. This is like the next round after I said that. And they did exactly that. They started team shotting like absolute fucking masterminds. And I was like, you guys are dope. Like, absolute shout outs to these guys. I love when I see actual players that will take your advice to heart. And then we got over to the last round, and my teammate had a really good tether, which you'll see in the last round here. And then I clapped it up and won based off of his tether. And I was just like, great job. And they were like, thank you for the care. I threw there at the end, but I was like, nah, you guys did exactly what you needed to do. You provided me the team shots. You did your own damage, and I really freaking appreciate that. So if you ever see me in your matches, just try to team shot your best with me. That's all I want from my teammates, to be honest with you. So shout out to these guys, really cool teammates. But we are on the last few plays here. I'll be bussy bopping these enemies, as you can see here. So I'll let that play out for you guys as I say, as always, just have a great day, Guardians.